Welcome back to Grisonbury Fieldhouse. We're set to start game 2 of our doubleheader, and overall the 6th game and final game of this Jaguar Rumble tournament to begin the 2018 volleyball season is the host Jaguars being set to take on the Falcons of Montevallo. And both these teams played twice yesterday, and both teams swept both the games they played in, and that basically makes this an unofficial championship game for this weekend tournament. I'm Robert Ambrose, once again joined by Blake Collins. And Blake, it's been a great tournament. All 5 games so far, the 4 yesterday and the first game so far today, have been sweeps. But you get the feeling that this one could be, keyword could be, a little different.
Yeah, it's hard to see this type of matchup with these two powerhouse teams and the best teams in this tournament sweeping one another here, and it's definitely has the vibe that it could go 4 or maybe even a sudden death in a 5th set.
Well, we're yet to see that this weekend, as like I said, they've all so far been sweeps, including 4 of those 5 by each of these two teams. All 4 of yesterday's games were sweeps by these two teams, 2 of them by the Jaguars, the other 2, of course, by the Falcons, and they've yet to play each other, so it seems that the scheduling gods planned this out perfectly so far. And what are the keys to success for each team based on the situation?
Well, for one, both teams have a very aggressive and strong front court. The middle hitters and the outside attackers are very crucial to laying in some sizzling kills, some solid work up front. Blocking will be crucial because you can bet your bottom dollar that Augusta will be aggressive in attacking, and so will the outside hitters for the Falcons as well. Now, we also saw too that the Falcons can sometimes kind of circulate their wings and simmer a little bit and then explode when the time is right. That may be something that they try to implement here, because you know Augusta's going to come out with all guns a-blazing, firing and cooking on all cylinders at the start of this contest. So it'll be interesting to see how that works into the Falcons' game plan, to see if they can kind of withstand the fire, simmer it down, and then when the time is right, come back and attack, explode, and kind of like in a way, kind of like a stealthy type sharpshooter attack in that particular instance. Now, Augusta, when you look at it, they're one of the most complete teams here, in a sense that their rotations, their front court, the libero and Holland Martin, all of these components work in a cohesive unit to give them the best chance to win. The rotations will be solid. They'll back each other up. They will rotate to different positions in a flash, so that way they can cover up some of the holes that the Falcons look to exploit. So for them, being on the same wavelength, being able to know where the ball's going, know where to get to, and then exploding, making Montevallo make crucial mistakes. We saw a little bit of that with Mount Olive yesterday in that ball game, or in that contest, in the matchup. And Augusta's been really good about scouting different opponents throughout this tournament today. They were here for the Mount Olive and Lander contest. They were sitting up above the bleachers watching this game, and Lander is a conference opponent for them later. So this is going to be a really good, as you said, for this tournament, a championship-style matchup with the 2 best teams going toe-to-toe, and it's looking to be a knockout of a volleyball game. And both teams are, even with each individual team having different advantages that can help them secure a victory, it's going to be a good game and a full frontal assault the whole way through, and a joy to watch this game.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial for the players guarding the net to step up and try and hit it over the opposition. We've seen that a lot this weekend, but that's going to be crucial in the front matchup.
The trench battle up front is, as we've been talking about. Both squads have excellent middle hitters, outside hitters, with, for Augusta, Mackenzie Beck, a defensive setter in Natalia Govea that has been really crucial to the Jags' success. And we saw with Montevallo in their 2 games how the cohesion and the chemistry works up front for them to be so lethal in the blocking game, in the attacking scenario, whether it be lethal kills, whether it be floatovers to get it over blocks that the opposing team has. Everything works for them up front in a very good directive to deliver them points and deliver them the sweeps that we've been seeing. Now, Augusta's a different animal in this game, and we'll be back in a minute. Now, Robert, as we were talking about, Augusta's a different animal, but as we took a moment for the national anthem, another critical factor is any mistakes that you see from either team. The opposing team, as good as both teams are, have to capitalize on those mistakes, because any mistakes left on the table will be covered up extremely quickly, and also will be a detriment in having a wasted opportunity that could come back to haunt you, with both powerhouses cooking on all cylinders, especially during this tournament.
Absolutely, and it's just like game 1 of our doubleheader. It's going to be a game of momentum swings, and we'll see a lot of back and forth here. This one, the Jaguars in their home alternate gray jerseys with blue numbers, and the Falcons in their own blacks with yellow numbers.
And you'll also see great footwork and great eye movement to visually maneuver different defenders away from the ball and away from where both teams want to center their attack, which is good, because once you utilize both of them, the defense can become confused and open up more areas for you to attack. So look for good footwork and eye movement throughout this game from both squads.
Yeah, on offense, the more unpredictable you are, the easier it is to confuse the defense, and that's going to result in a lot of points in this one. And right off the bat, the Jaguars get a point.
And a great read from Govea there, realizing that the ball was going out of bounds, even if it was just a hair out of play on the right side of the lawn.
Govea gets the dig there. And the Jaguars start the attack right away. They have 3 up on the net. And the Falcons are having a really difficult time hitting it over. And they do ultimately get the point. But do you think the Jaguars will keep that many up on the net for most of this match? They put Mackenzie Beck up there along with Savannah Gonzalez. And Jessica Hedrick on the last play. And they move the players back, and this time the Falcons get the point. It's 2-1 in favor of the Falcons. The Jaguars scored the fourth point. The Falcons had scored 2 in a row since then, and now the Jaguars answer with a point as that one just lands in bounds, so that ties this at 2. And that's going to send Savannah Gonzalez, the 6'1 senior from Kennesaw, back to serve. A little high five from her libero, sophomore Holland Martin. And that sails inbounds. It stays in. That's a point for the Falcons. Skylar Sieber will serve it for the Falcons. She's a 5'4 freshman libero. And a whistle, and we have a violation, and that's going to be a point for the Jaguars, so it's 3-3 tie. As you can see, we apologize for the technical difficulty. We do have some issues with the scoreboard. We are working to resolve them at the moment, and it looks like we have it back for you. As you can see, we are tied at 3. Thank you to our partner Blake Collins for getting things squared away.
So now a nice overhand soft kill from Augusta sent the Falcons sprawling to make the save, and they kept the point alive, but they're off their center base right now trying to recuperate, and they sent Augusta sprawling as well, and it turned out to be the decisive decision in the Falcons obtaining their 4th point.
That 4th point makes it 4-3 in favor of the Falcons. Now Harley Massimer, the 5'7 junior, will serve for the Falcons, and Gonzalez digs that one up, but it goes out of bounds, and it's 5-3 Falcons.
Gonzalez was hoping to direct that toward the net, but as we've seen all tournament long, ricochets can take awkward ricochets off you and go in a direction that you're not meaning for it to go, and that sent Govea trying to sprawl to recuperate, and Augusta never could get back on the offensive side of things on that point.
5-4 Falcons. Mackenzie Beck is back to serve for the Jaguars. Jaguars have 3 on the net once again in defensive mode, and they get the block, and that's how they get a point there.
If the Falcons can see that enough this game and to time everything out that Augusta's doing, the strategic element to that is to go up for a kill, but soft touch it over, and then put it behind the front court and into the open areas between the defensive setters and the libero. So that may be something that the Falcons adjust to later on in the game, but the Augusta front court is blocking very well up to this point.
So far, the Jaguars attack with the 3 up on the net and 1 just barely behind them to back them up has worked fabulously for them. They lead at 7-5. And that's truly how you use attack mode.
Great recuperation there by Beck, seeing that where the attack angle was coming from, and then sliding and diving to dig that ball out.
8-5 Jaguars. A timeout is called by the Falcons, with the Jaguars off to a hot start, leading this one 8-5 in set 1. Jaguars will continue tournament play, but will move on next weekend to the Queens tournament in Charlotte. They'll have 4 games in 2 days, a Friday and Saturday. take on Anderson and Winston-Salem on Friday, and then on Saturday against Wingate and Barton. And boy, how beneficial is having all these tournaments early on. And then the following weekend, the Augusta USC Aiken tournament will be here at the Chris.
It's one of the better elements and the better ways to get you set up for strenuous and tough competition in the Peach Belt conference play. Because for one, a lot of these teams you see for one game for the first time. Video may come into play, but the live game element to volleyball and the rotations you go through, the different elements to the game that you don't normally talk about or see comes into play, and that's crucial in helping build a team up for that strenuous competition they'll see later on.
Whistle point to the Falcons. It's 8-6. That was a lot of back and forth hitting there. And the Jaguars this time have several players retreating back from the net, but it doesn't seem to matter. They still get the attack to perfection, so we've seen them do it several different ways here.
You had a nice transition from the far side of the court to the near side baseline, and then Govea with just a soft touch reaches over the outside attacker and outside hitter and sizes that up very well and plants it right in between the hitter and the defensive setter.
The attack go the Jaguars. Does that land out or in? It lands out. That's a point for the Falcons. 9-7.
As you see from both squads right now, the footwork is implemented very well. The rotations are almost flawless, and you will have a lot of back and forth in these type of games to find the holes, to be able to puncture home points and tack on more points to get to the ever elusive set point on the 25th point.
Still a long way to go before we
Absolutely.
get there, though. It's 10-7 Jaguars.
Absolutely.
And that grazes the net but goes across on the serve, and the attack is won by the... No, the Jaguars get the point as the Falcons do the spike, but it lands out of bounds, so it's 11-7 Jaguars. After the Queens tournament, before the Augusta USC Aiken tournament is hosted here, the Jaguars will host Shorter on September the 4th, a Tuesday night game at 7 o'clock here at the Chris. As a little midweek action. A little variety and prep for the USC Aiken tournament.
That right there, though, you've seen off of these 2 points, 2 mistakes by the Falcons. One on a misread on a kill by the defensive setter, and then one from an attack standpoint on the opposite end for the Falcons. Trick to that is not letting mistakes compound on top of you. 1 or 2 may be fine and you can cover up, but don't let those continue to compound on you and give the Jags an opening to exploit, because they will exploit it, shoot into it like a raging fire, and absolutely crush you on that end. So that's an element to the Falcons game that they might want to work on, not trying to be too perfect, but to a point to where they're playing their game and not trying to cover up from their own mistakes.
And right now it's 13-9. And there's the serve. Jaguars now go on the attack, but it's hit right back to their side. And the 3 players blocking the net, and they get the spike, and the kill by Jessica Hedrick hits it down, so it's 14-9.
It's just the power of the front court with Hedrick, Gonzalez, and Beck. I mean, it's hard to it's hard to penetrate that and get the ball past them. And then when they are on the offense, they're able to angle the ball to where the deflection only goes down in that instance and hits the net and comes back on the Montevallo side for the 14th Jaguars point.
And that lands inbounds, so that's a point for the Falcons. It's 14-10.
And as we saw with Lander earlier, you think this lead is safe by the Jags. The Falcons will come soaring back here and make this a game and try to capitalize and take the first set. They're down by 3 now off of that point, but this set is far from over.
Yes, it is. It's a back and forth one. Beck with the hard hit. She gets the kill. 15-11.
Clean all the way through. Just a touch bit of a delayed reaction there by the setter. Not sure which way Beck was going to try to kill it. The angle is there for Beck to exploit. Just that slight delayed reaction there cost the Falcons.
And that's going to sail out of bounds. That's going to give the Jaguars another point, 16-11. And out of bounds that goes. The Jaguars get another point. As so far for Montevallo, they're trying to hit the ball towards the corners, but it's going a little farther than they want to, and they're hitting it a little harder than they should, and that's why it's landing out of bounds several times for them, giving the Jaguars several points. That goes over the head of the defenders, but they're able to get it back over anyway.
But you see from this point how the Jaguars close the gap on mistakes and how they close the gaps on holes. That kind of blindsides Montevallo in the fact that if they want to go inside, they can. But the thing is with their quickness and their recuperation aspect, it forces them to kind of go outside. The same thing can happen. Jags go out there, get the ball. So what I'm trying to say is the defensive holes become increasingly smaller for the Falcons to try to capitalize on. The way the Jags are showing you they can recuperate from being under duress and trying to get to these digs to save some of these points.
They go on the attack, and of course, you know with the Jaguars, when they go on attack mode, they're going to do anything they can to get the ball to Mackenzie Beck.
Oh, her and Gavea, both of them are top notch when it comes to attacking. And Gavea is a defensive setter, and she can be utilized in both ways. And the front court for the Jags, if opposing teams can find a way to pierce through that, they've got a legitimate shot, because the front court outside here's middle attackers is one of the strongest suits. Is one of the strongest features of the Jags. Now, that's not to take away anything from the libero and the defensive setters, but if you can get it past the front court of the Jags, you have a pretty good shot of doing damage.
You absolutely do. The Jaguars get a point, as once again the Falcons hit it out. 20-13. They're going to send Beck back to serve it. And that's a point for the Falcons, 20-14.
Beck's momentum was taking her toward the court, and it was a little bit too late of a reaction there to shift back to try to wrangle in that kill and set up the dig.
Jaguars keeping 3 on the net, and they get it all the way across the court over, but now the Falcons get it back over.
So right now you notice that the point was awarded to Montevallo, but if you notice, the Jags there collapsed the front court with 6 players on the front court. If the point would have kept going, the Falcons could have exploited that and utilized more sharp angles and attacks on the backcourt to maybe capitalize on a point that they already won before that.
20 to 16.
It's just something for Montevallo to kind of realize, see if that happens again, and attack that particular aspect from there and secure more points.
On the attack again, and the kill just lands in bounds. Point for the Falcons. That's 4 straight for them. 20 to 17. On that last point, or a few points ago, the Falcons basically had everyone in perfect position, and the Jaguars on the attack really had nowhere to hit the ball. And then they ended up hitting it out of bounds. And a whistle. And the Falcons with the point. Oh, no, they're going to give it to Augusta, so it's 21-17.
Well, but to that point, both these teams are really good in rotational play, moving from one position to another. And the Falcons kind of forced the Jags' hand right there with flawless rotations and good footwork to be able to close those particular holes and fight their way out of it. And then once the holes opened up on their end for their offensive side of things, they were able to strike with fury and be able to obtain the points.
They absolutely were. So 22-17. Now they're going to send Govea back to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jaguars are just flat out not letting the Falcons hit it over with the net defense. 22-18.
Net defense is good, but sometimes the angle off of the block takes a disastrous flight path down, and it actually hurt the Jags there as the block kind of came back, hit the net, and landed back on the Jaguar side.
And the Jaguars with another kill from right up on the net, 23-18. It's now set point. One of these teams will, after this set, lose a set for the first time on the weekend. And a whistle, and that's a point for the Falcons. It's 24-19.
Well, on the point beforehand, it was a good job of actually using eye movement to freeze the defender and then explode through and had the angle to place the ball on the kill right in front of the defender that was frozen.
Jaguars have a little confusion and they're unable to get it over, and they have a violation called against them, so that's a point for the Falcons. It's 24-20.
And a 4-point comeback from Montevallo is not insurmountable the way they've been playing.
Especially not after we saw what Lander did in the third set of game 1.
Absolutely.
Earlier today, but the Jaguars close it out, take set 1 here, the doubleheader, game 2. And we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few moments to start set 2 of game 2 of day 2 of this conference tournament, or of this preseason tournament on the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. We'll be back. We are back here at the Chris. We are set to start set 2 of game 2 of day 2 of this Jaguar Rumble tournament between the host Jaguars and the Falcons of Montevallo. The Jaguars took first set. Robert Ambrose with Blake Collins. And what's going to be the key to the success for the Jaguars in set 2?
They're cooking with Crisco on all cylinders. And to continue their game, because they've got advantages on the front court. Natalia Govea defending on the back court, who can transition into front court very well. Rotations are solid. The defense work is really good, so continue to their style of game. Now for Montevallo, it's to look at it and force mistakes from the Jaguars' hand, which the Jags are not accustomed to. And if they can compound those mistakes, then the swagger that we've seen from the Jags may kind of waffle a little bit, and we'll see where that leads them. Because if that happens, then as we've seen from Montevallo, kind of waiting under the wings and swooning in, they can capitalize and place a run or two together to come out on top in a set like this.
And right off the bat, the Jaguars take a 1-0 lead.
But it's going to be critical for the Falcons to try to see if they can, 1, attack, and 2, catch the Jaguars, as you've said all tournament long, catch them off guard, and also see if they can try to change the strategy and change the mentality of the Jags and try to capitalize on that.
And Holland Martin mishandles the dig attempt, and that's a point for Falcons. They lead it 2-1.
And that's something that the Jags have not faced yet this tournament, is adversity. And we'll see if that happens, how they respond to it.
And this is the first point of the tournament where the Falcons face adversity, down 1-0. And we'll also see how they respond as well. Jaguars trying to get it across, and they do. Somehow the Falcons are able to dig that up and save it. Back on the Jaguars side. The Falcons on defense, they cover so much ground that it's really hard to find a spot to hit it where a Falcon player won't be able to dig it up and get it back across.
Yeah, as an example right there, you saw 4 or 5 Falcon attackers and outside hitters rotating their feet, covering up different holes on the front court to be able to cover that and then shoot it back over to the Jag side. Now that left the backcourt open, but the Jags did not get a chance to exploit that. So they've done a very good job, especially this game, of fixing some of the mistakes that we saw in the first set that kind of plagued them a little bit, and it's doing them a favor because right now they are tied.
And Savannah Gonzalez completely misses that one. And it's 4-3 Falcons. And the battle of the net that time is won by the Falcons. It's 5-3.
It was a block that shot over to Mackenzie Beck's way, and she was going back to the right, could not shift the weight to the left in time.
And the Jaguars get another point. It's 5-4.
This is the type of matchup coming into it that we both wanted to see. A back and forth affair, full throttle, leave nothing out on the table, and let the best 2 teams go toe-to-toe for the tournament finale.
Jaguars win on the kill. Falcons had a little trouble handling that one. Ties it at 5. Holland Martin, the libero, serves it. And Savannah Gonzalez hits it right over. It's hard for the Falcons to get anything by the Jaguars at the net, isn't it? And the Jaguars answer right back there and get the point.
They seized the moment to attack the one player in the libero that did not have her weight shifted to the front part of her foot and was not ready to adjust to that kill that the Jaguars offered.
7-5 Jaguars. They do have the lead, but not a lot of momentum. The overall stats, it's pretty even so far in this one. 49-46 in favor of the Jaguars in attacks, 18-12 in favor of the Jaguars in kills, and 16-11 in assists in favor of the Jaguars. The Jaguars do have 2 service errors. And so far, and a big reason why the Falcons have been able to stay in this one, they don't have any service errors. And that streak will stay perfect for at least this play. Jaguars up 7-6. And the Falcons get the kill.
Good transition off of a volley. Almost looked like a dig on the outset, but a volley over to the opposite side to then transition on a kill back to the side that they set that up on, and the Jags did not see that coming. They were covering the right side. They killed to the left side. Great positioning there by the Falcons, and the attack angle was electric for them to capitalize on.
Absolutely. That makes it 8-7 in favor of the Falcons. So they will send Savannah Royce, 5'10", freshman from Gainesville, back to serve. She's from Gainesville, Georgia, not Gainesville, Florida. Jaguars with the point, 8-8. Right now, updated stats, it's 51-50 in favor of the Jaguars in attacks. Staying very even.
Okay, so on the last point, when you're not seeing anything out midcourt to backcourt, what do? Go to one of your top-notch assets in the front court in the Battle of the Trenches. The Jags won that because the Falcons' front court is not as strong as the Jags' front court is, and they were able to win the war up front on that point. Then the Falcons come back and retaliate and get a point off of them, the Jags not being ready to battle back off of a kill in center court.
And that's a service error by the Falcons, their first of this match. Gives the Jaguars a 10-9 lead. Sharik Brian Garmos has 9 assists and Mackenzie Beck has 7. The rest of the team combines for only 1, and that 1 goes to Holland Martin. But that shows you just how well Brian Garmos has fit into the system as a junior transfer from San Juan for the Jaguars this season.
She's been a critical aspect into the reason why the Jags have gotten off to the hot start that they have gotten off to. And it's not only that, but she's also set up nicely and set up very solidly in transitioning to Beck, to Govea, to some of the solid strikers and attackers that you see on the Jags roster and court right now.
And who does the point go to? It goes to the Jaguars. Chloe Allen serves it. And that does land as Allen was unable to dig that one up on the dive attempt.
They just made the adjustment we were talking about earlier. in trying to combat the Jags front court, they did a soft touch over, and it landed between the defensive setters of the Jags. So if they can continue to try to do that,
absolutely,
can definitely be a different ball game up, or different match up in the front court, and the Falcons might be able to break through the Jags' strong front court and the middle hitters and the outside attackers.
12-11 now in favor of the Falcons. Jaguars on the attack, and what a beautiful dive. That was Michaela Henderson for the Falcons diving it, and they're able to move the ball across the net and get the point, so that ties it at 12. Or actually, no, that landed out of bounds, so that's a Jaguar point, tying it at 12. And the service error by the Jaguars gives the Falcons a point. It's 13-12 Falcons. I'll send back to serve Bree Bloom, 5'9" senior from Bloomington, Indiana. Jaguars attack. It's over, and now on the attack come the Falcons, and they get the point. It's 14-12. They've scored 3 in a row now.
Solid transition from the far side to the near side court, and just a little soft touch on the volleyball gave the Falcons their 14th point.
And the Falcons see the Jaguars get the point there, so it's 14-13. That's going to send Savannah Gonzalez to serve this one.
And that was around 4 different players, 2 middle hitters and a defensive setter and an outside attacker. And to be able to pinpoint that accuracy like the Jags just did was phenomenal on their part. (15-13) Jaguars. Correction, it's 15-13 Falcons on top. Brian Garmos hits it up. Jaguars get it across, but the Falcons were ready for that one. Beck hits it back over, and she is one of the most hard-hitting players you'll see at this level. Not only that, but the digs the opposing teams get off her, they can sting a little. And the Falcons did the best possible job of recuperating off of that dig and setting up very well to get that 16th point in the books. And looking like the Jags are having to take a timeout here.
They are. They're seeing the momentum shift towards the Falcons, so they got to regroup and find a way to answer back.
So first time we've seen that this tournament. They've been so electric on all different fronts that the timeout, especially with as back and forth as this affair is, could be just a dose of medicine the Jags need to kind of refuel, retool, and come back very strong out of this timeout.
Correct. They're still talking it over. A little team huddle. Falcons are ready to go. It'll be Falcons serve. And it'll be Brioni Dixon serving it. And that's a Jaguar point, so it's 14-16.
That's such a touch and go read though, because it's hard to read the distance of the ball in relation to the back baseline and to know if it's going out or not. A very solid read by Savannah Gonzalez, but such a touch and feel type of read to that it could have gone either way.
And that one goes the Jaguars' way. That's a 1-point match.
Which that also lets you know how good the decision making is for the Jags and how great their vision is in live gameplay on the volleyball court.
And they get great vision there to get it across the net, and except that it lands out of bounds, so it's a point for the Falcons. And where does that one land? That barely lands inbounds. The Jaguars, Santa Gonzalez thought it was going out, decided to leave it alone, but it just barely lands inbounds. It's a tough break for the Jaguars, and that gives the Falcons a point, and it's 18-15. And that one also lands out of bounds, but it's Jaguars' point, 18-16 now, is battle of the nets. They have to hit, if you're battling two people hitting it back and forth, guarding the net, you got to hit it to the side, and in that case, the Falcons had to hit it to the side out of bounds. Jaguars on the attack, and that lands in, and it's 19-16.
The Jaguars are trying to penetrate that front court wall that the Falcons have, especially on the last two plays, at the height of their jump, which they're not getting the advantage over the top that the Jaguars would like to continue the pressure on the attacks that they want to apply.
And on the attack right now, it's the Falcons with 3 up on the net. The opposite of what we've seen earlier. Jaguars get the point, 19-17. It'll be Govea's turn to serve it for the Jaguars, trailing by 2 here in set 2. They lead the match, however, 1-0. And the Falcons get it back across. Jaguars attack. Beck hits it up, and you know she's going to do that once the ball goes her direction, and that results in a Jaguar point.
And the thing, too, that helped out was the net. She kind of hit it at an angle where the bottom of the volleyball crashed down on the net and took some serious speed off of that kill, which actually worked to the Jags and Beck's advantage and allowed that ball to fall short of the defensive setter and in between the middle and outside attackers.
And that lands just barely inbounds. What a beautiful job by the Falcons hitting that one towards the side. And it's 20-18 Falcons. This is a back and forth set, as back and forth as you can have. The first one was similar of 2.
And at the rate this is going, it's like this game is turning out like we thought it may have, having more sets than just a three-set sweep, and that is from a fan's perspective. The more volleyball you can have in a game like this, the better it is, because you see these two teams laying everything they have out on the table to secure the tournament victory, and it's hard to get any better than that in a tournament finale like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Saves the best for last, right, Blake?
Absolutely.
21-19. Falcons up. It's their serve. They get it across. Martin digs it up. Beck hits it up. Gonzalez hits it over, but the Falcons block it and are able to kill it, and it's 22-19. And a whistle and a timeout taken by the Jaguars. They trail it by 3 here in the second set.
Well, and they also responded very well out of their first timeout, cranking out 2 consecutive points, and a very crucial timeout here to see if they can kind of stop the bleeding, stop the soaring of the Falcons here, and try to redirect some of this into channeling it back into the energy and the fire that they had when they initially came out in the first set and had the Falcons reeling.
And right now, the Falcons on the cusp of evening this match, and the Jaguars trying to figure out how they can avoid that here in this timeout. Got a good crowd here for this one.
It'll be interesting also to see if the Jags come out to a different alignment in the front court, or how they choose to align, because you usually see with them what the Falcons are doing now, having 3 back-to-back and then spreading out once a serve is over the net.
Beck hits it up, and that's going to go out of the reach of Michaela Henderson. What a beautifully hit ball in perfect position, and a court awareness there by the Jaguars, so they get the point 22-20. The Jaguars have 4 players basically in a train line up on the net.
And that particular point right there was the worst and the best of times. So a tale of 2 different stories. Worst particular time for the Falcons with only a 2-point lead, with a firehouse brewing in the Jags, and the best for the Jags, seeing as they are trying to make a fierce comeback here.
And it's 23-20 Falcons. So what you'll see is now both teams are doing it. They'll have the 4 players, or previously they'll have 4 players with a train line from the net, and then they'll rotate up to the net once the serve has been made.
And then which will also, 2 things can happen out of that. You'll either have a 4th player at the front, or one drops back and becomes a defensive setter, in which at that point it closes the gaps even more for the opposing offensive attackers to try to implement and secure points off of.
And that's going to land out of bounds. Point for the, it lands just inbounds. Point for Falcons. Set point here. This set is still a long way from over, though.
It's still a long way from over, but if this 24th point is secured, that ensures that we will have a 4th set, which we have not seen this tournament.
But we've seen a team overcome the similar deficit in a previous game.
Right.
And the Jaguars are a step closer to doing that there as they get the point. So 24-22. Now Holland Martin will be back to serve. She gets it across. Falcons dig it up. They're on the attack. Jaguars guarding the net beautifully, and they hit it back several times, and that lands for a Jaguar point. 1-point set, 24-23.
A little bit too much confusion on the front court by the Falcons, trying to decide who was going to take control of that set and the transfer, and the Jag capitalized on it because their front court were ready to pounce when the ball got over into their side of the front court, and it's just too much.
Absolutely. Now it's a 1-point set, and Montevallo takes the timeout, and they want to figure out how they can close this out and even this match and hand the Jaguars their first set loss of the season.
And you love right off the bat, too, with both teams having the mentality of we're not going to die yet. They're playing with everything they have, laying their hearts out on the line in a fantastic matchup to this point.
And once again, you're seeing a 3-2 lineup by the Falcons as the Jaguars overcome that and get the point. Like, the Falcons weren't going to let the Jaguars hit it anywhere with the way they were lined up, but the Jaguars are able to hit it down so hard it doesn't matter, and we're tied at 24, and now someone's got to score 2 in a row. It's no longer a set point for the time being.
Which means, from a momentum standpoint, we're back at square one.
Yes, we are.
So everything is reset, and it's almost like a second. It's almost like a second sudden death in a way too. But we're back at square one. Everything is even, and for both teams, just let your games and let the way you play volleyball come across and shine here in the last 2 points of this set.
Jaguars hitting it across. And the Jaguars get the kill. And they take the lead. And this is the loudest we've heard Christenberry Fieldhouse all weekend. And another timeout for Montevallo, as suddenly they're wondering where on earth their lead has gone. The last time they called a timeout, it was not too long ago, and they had a lead, and they were just trying to figure out how to close this out. And the Jaguars since then have roared back and taken the lead.
So you want to try to tackle a giant and go straight into the teeth of the lion?
Absolutely.
And that's what the Falcons did right there. They went directly into the teeth of the Jaguars' front court and their blocking scheme up front, and the blocking got the best of the Falcons' attack right there.
Yes, it absolutely did. Now the Jaguars are going to line. Are they going to line 4 up on the net again? No, they have 3 on the net. The Falcons are playing a little back in the 3 and 2 lineup. 3 a little back from the net, and a little 2 in the back of, and 3 in the back of the court. Now they move to the attack position. The Jaguars guard the net beautifully and don't let anything by them. Beck with it. She hits it over. Here come the Falcons. Jaguars attack once again. And the Falcons hit it back over. And the Jaguars win set 2. What a comeback, Blake.
The littlest things and the adjustments on that set the Jaguars made were phenomenal. They started off with a kind of a semi-hard kill there. Blotz came back over. They could see the confusion a little bit on the far side, on the near side here. And what did they do? They didn't try to kill it. They didn't try to attack it with fierceness. All they did was a little soft paw and a little soft float over, and it dropped right smack dab in the middle of 4 Falcons defenders to close out an amazing and phenomenal set from both squads.
Absolutely. The Jaguars lead it 2-0. And up next, we'll have set 3. It'll be closeout set for the Jaguars. And the Falcons will try to avoid the sweep on the other side of this break on the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Welcome back to Chris and Very Fieldhouse. The Jaguars coming off an incredible come-from-behind win in set 2 to take a 2-0 lead, stunning the Falcons, who thought they had it in the bag and were about to force a set 4, and now becomes a closeout set for the Jaguars, Blake, and set 2 ended similar fashion to the way set 3 of game 1 of our doubleheader ended, didn't it?
It did, with Lander steamrolling from behind, putting together, I believe, a run of 4 consecutive points, and coming back and taking Mount Olive's third set from out from under them. And the same thing applied here, where the Jags come roaring back and taking the second set here. But for the Falcons, you cannot let that set determine your mentality here in set number 3. Because if you let that simmer and you let that get to you, it will take you out of this set. And that is when the Jags are most lethal, when you are not playing your best A game against a team that is cooking on all cylinders.
Absolutely, and so far the Jaguars they can gain momentum in a back and forth set, and they can come from behind and win when it looks almost over, and the Jaguars quickly take a 1-point lead here in set 3.
Yeah, and a bunch of players bundled up together there and not spread out to try to contain what was in front of them, and they were bundled up too close and didn't spread out enough, and it kind of came back to bite them as they couldn't recover in time.
It's 2-0 Jaguars. Brian Garmos back to serve it. She gets it across. Now they're going to go the Falcons straight onto the attack, but the Jaguars defense was ready for that, guarding the net. And that lands on the Falcons side. That's a Jaguar point. 3-0 Jaguars.
Even if the Falcons would have tried to dig that out, there's very little wiggle room to try to save that point from where that ball initially landed.
What a beautiful dig up by Gouveia. And that's going to land out of bounds point for the Jaguars. It's 4-0 Jaguars momentum from the way they finished set 2 carrying over. Dating back to the end of set 2, they scored 9 unanswered since they were down 24-21 facing a set point. Scored 5 in a row to end the set to come from behind to win it, and now 4 in a row to start set 3. They lead 4-0.
And you're not kidding when you said that about Gouveia. She anchors that defense for the Jags in the backcourt. But another facet of her game that is improving and is lethal as it is, but it keeps on improving, is her front court presence when she transitions up to the front court. So a dual threat in the back, and Gouveia capitalized on that on the last particular point and saved that point for the Jags. And
not only that, but what's really remarkable about it is being able to dive and dig it up and get it over with one hand.
That takes a lot of concentration and that's having a good foundation and a base. And what I mean by that is having your feet solid, planted on the ground, or if you dive, or if you go, your body-centered, body control through the dive, or if you go to the knee to pick it up, a good center of base to dig that out. Very good concentration there from Titania Gouveia.
And the Jaguars with another point, and it's 6-1. They send back Savannah Gonzalez to serve this one. And on the dig, Beck is unable to come up with that one. Good effort, though. 6-2 now, Jaguars up.
It's a great effort, and the thing that kind of helped out the Falcons there is Holland Martin didn't want to collide with Beck on that play, so she dove a little bit late, and the ball had already fallen, on the Jaguar side by the time Martin got to the volleyball.
Beck on the attack. Hard hit across court, but it goes straight out of bounds. She hit that one a little too hard, and that's a Falcon point.
As good as great as all these players are, they're prone to make mistakes sometimes, and that was just a touch too hard, but they recover very well, as you just saw there.
It's 8-2 Jaguars. That's going to send Holland Martin back to serve. And now they send the Falcons straight on the attack, and they get the point. And that totally caught the Jaguars off guard. 8-3.
When you force teams and players to make a decision on a read like that, and they are frozen in trying to make that decision, 7 out of 10 times that'll work, because by the time they make up their mind, the ball is dead even with them or already a little bit past them to secure that point. So the Falcons did a very good job at making Savannah Gonzalez make a decision, a slow decision at that, to capitalize on the point.
And that's a point for the Falcons. It's 9-4.
And as we've seen this particular game, in this particular matchup, Robert, no lead is safe.
Absolutely not. I mean, if you lead 24-21 and lose the set, that'll tell you all you need to know about how safe a lead can be. And the Jaguars can learn from that too.
Absolutely. And I mean, even a 6-point advantage that the Jaguars have, at the rate that the Falcons are playing and have converted on runs and put consecutive points together, this can easily turn back in the favor of the Falcons once again.
Beck hits it up. Jaguars on the attack. But it's dug up on the Falcons side, and that's going to land out of bounds. And that was a very tempting ball for the Jaguars to go after, but they lay off just in time.
Well, that was a split-second last decision to change direction of the float over. They were originally going middle of the court. Then at the last second, you decide to try to exploit the outside part of the middle of the court and inside the baseline, and just too much air underneath the volleyball to capitalize.
And a beautiful dig up by the Falcons. I believe that was Desiree Rodriguez. No, that was Michaela Henderson with the diving dig up, similarly to what we saw from Natalia Govea earlier. But the Jaguars overcome it and get the point, and it's 12-4 here in set 3. Govea back to serve. She throws it high in the air, and it works out well for her.
Absolutely. And her timing is impeccable when she does that too. She hits it at the top of when she gets in the air, and when the ball comes directly kind of below the fingers and at the top of her hand, when she can get the most power behind it. Very good serve there by Govea, in which had on the opposite side the libero and a defensive setter both touched the ball at the same time, which had that awkward deflection outside of it. Instead of going straight up, it went to the left, and nobody could recover in time to save the point.
Certainly not. And it was a very hard hit ball across the court. And I guess when you're serving, that's an advantage. When you throw the ball the higher in the air, the easier it is for you to hit the ball harder, isn't it? Govea is going to serve it again for the Jaguars off a timeout. Let's see if she can do that over again. And it's now 13-5, Jaguars right off the timeout. So the timeout pays off for the Falcons. They get the point. It's 13-5.
But you want to capitalize on that.
Yes, you do.
And they did right there, too. A serve. Again, with two players colliding like that, like you saw Howard Martin going for it and then Govea going right for it, it caused him to freeze up a little bit because one thought the other was going to dig it out. And when they froze up, nobody in turn dug it out. So a very critical serve goes to the Falcons. But the Jags, when you think they're down, they come roaring right back and secure that last point.
Showed just now, and it showed at the end of set 2. And Landers showed that at the end of their match earlier today. Jaguars aggressive attack. Gonzalez hit that hard on the kill, on the kill attempt, but the Falcons are able to get it back over and get the point. So it's 14-7. And we have a substitution. Holland Martin is back in the game for the Jaguars. Chloe Allen will take a seat. And the Falcons on the serve. Govea digs it up. Beck hits it up in the air. On the attack, it's going to be bouncing on and off the net, and it lands on the Jaguars' side. So that's a point for the Falcons. On the attack, another diving dig up successful by Govea. And that's going to land out of bounds. Falcons point 14-9.
Whenever you straddle the line like that, it takes a tremendous amount of precision to get it inside the line, and there's not much room for error on that baseline. It's like a foul territory on the foul line in baseball. There's not much room for error, and it did not work out for the Jaguars on the volleyball court in that last point.
4 straight now for the Falcons off the timeout. It's 14-10. Beck hits it up. The Jaguars move it over close to the net, but it's a little hard hit, and it goes out of bounds, and it's 14-11. And it's a lot harder than it looks to find the right balance in terms of you want to hit it hard so the other team doesn't have a chance to hit it back, but you want to make sure you don't want to hit it so hard that it goes so far out it goes out of bounds.
That's definitely true, but sometimes too, a lot of it is about angle and placement. Because you can hit it as hard as the day is long, but if you hit it to where a defender can dig it out, or if you hit it to where a deflection can occur, and it gives more time for the defense to come up and reset and retain control of the possession, it's still a good kill, but it doesn't work to the effectiveness that you want it to.
Nope.
So that. Well, that is definitely a good thought. It's with the kills. It's for me more about the angles of the kills, along with the drive and the intensity of it, but also the placement on the court that brings that lethalness to it that cements the points.
And that goes to the Falcons, 14-12, not the start the Jaguars would have wanted right off the timeout. Beck hits it up to Gonzalez. She gets it over, and the Jaguars get a point. What a huge point that was to answer back. It's 15-12. 99-98 in favor of Montevallo now. And attacks now to update the graphic. It's even at 99.
Yep.
Doesn't get more even than that. Deflected on the net by the Jaguars. Now they attack. And Beck gets the kill. Point for the Jaguars, 16-12. Jaguars hit it over. It's dug up on the Falcons' end. And that's going to fly. Yep, that was hard hit. So it flies out of bounds, 17-12. Good job by Govea. Smart to lay off of that one, let it go.
And now now it puts the Jags in firm control of the possession to where the Falcons have to react instead of attack. And they've shown that when they're not on the attack and reacting, it could prove to be a detriment.
And it goes off of Govea's hand. She was holding one of her teammate's shoe, so it looks as though Jessica Hedrick at some point lost her shoe, and Govea had her hands full trying to handle that one, and it's a point for the Falcons. If a player loses a shoe, you should probably wait till a dead ball. Falcons hit it over. Jaguars on the attack. Gonzalez hits it over. It's high up in the air on the Falcons side. And the Jaguars hit it back with good net defense. And now they get it over Hedrick and Gonzalez's head, who were right on the net. And the Falcons, as a result of that, get the point at 17-14.
That was well done, scouting ahead and seeing the hole develop, opening up in the Jaguars' defense, and then flawless execution, bringing it home with a soft float over for the Falcons.
That's a point for the Jaguars, 18-14. Jaguars trying to answer to any threat of a rally that the Falcons give them. That's going to send Gonzalez back to serve it. Jaguars with the kill attempt. It lands in bounds. They get the point.
Jags solve 4 or 5. Falcons crash the front and help out on the blocking in on the front court. So what do? Utilize pinpoint accuracy and speed on the kill to drive home that point on the back corner inside of the inbounds play to execute a flawless point.
And that falls in front of, on the serve in front of Savannah Gonzalez, who mistimed that on the dig attempt. And played it as though she was playing racquetball. It's 19-16. Jaguars on the attack. And a beautiful kill by Hedrick. That makes it 20-16.
Seeing a little bit of a different setup with the middle hitter kind of to the right for the Falcons.
Jaguars get another point. It's 21-16, trying to close out this match.
Falcons did everything they could and did a lot of things right there. When you're that close to the net and things are happening, if you start to lose a little bit of balance, it could spell disaster, and that's what happened right there.
Jaguars do get the point. And we have a timeout taken. It's going to be called by Montevallo, trailing the Jaguars 22-16. And the margin for error for Montevallo is running a lot thinner than it was earlier.
And so, with that being said, I'm gonna ask you. And there's still a lot of match left to be played, because the Falcons are not out of this in the least bit.
Not at all,
but
absolutely.
Coming into today, did you think we would be talking about a sweep of the Falcons that we saw yesterday, that was locked and loaded and playing the best ball they played the whole tournament, sweeping 2 different teams yesterday?
Well, we saw the Jaguars do the same thing yesterday, Blake, so it seemed like it was a pretty evenly matched game, and it has been, but obviously the it's gone to the Jaguars the first 2 sets, and the Jaguars, with the comeback they had in set 2, has really changed the complexion of this match.
Absolutely.
And that all by itself makes the margin for error for the Falcons a lot thinner, because it's the difference between being 2-0 and 1-1 when you think about it. In a best-of-5 match, 22-17 is the score. Jaguars on top. It'll be Falcons serving. They get it over. Jaguars dig it up on the attack. And they get the kill. What a beautiful kill. Hit right to Alicia Frazier, who hits it straight down. And it's 23-17.
It could be the smallest opening, but with a team like the Jags firing on all cylinders, even the slightest bit of hesitation or being sort of back on your heels and not ready to defend or not ready to keep the play alive can cost you. And that's what happened with the libero right there. She was caught kind of centered to the back of her heels and couldn't readjust.
You're right. And that's going to land inbounds, so the Falcons stay alive. If the Jaguars get one more point, then it's going to become game time for the Falcons. Jaguars dig it up. Beck hits it up. And another kill by Alyssa Frazier. My goodness, she is feeling it. It's match point, 24-18. Jaguars lead, and 2-0. They lead as well. Gouveia will serve it. We've seen how good she's been serving the ball today. Wiping a little bit of sweat off the floor was the ref. And he hits it over, and it's going to go out of bounds, service error, so that's a point for the Falcons. It's 24-19, and now the Jaguars will have to go back on defense as the Falcons will serve it. They hit it over. Martin digs it up, over to Beck, and they get it back onside, and good defense by the Falcons. They hit it back over, and Gouveia, another tough dig, but she's able to do it successfully. And does that land? No, the Jaguars get it across. What beautiful job. And a whistle, point Jaguars, as the Falcons hit it against the net, and the Jaguars win and complete the sweep and improve to 3-0 on the season and are the unofficial champions of this Jaguar Rumble weekend tournament to be in the 2018 season. And the Jaguars this season combined are 9-0 in all the sets. You can't start off a season any better than this, Blake.
No, you can't. And the Jags are sending a major message to the rest of the Peach Belt Conference.
Yes, they are.
Saying if you want a shot at going to the Peach Belt Conference Finals, it comes through Augusta. Like, the way they are playing right now is cooking on all cylinders. This is going to be a formidable team for anybody in the Peach Belt Conference to try to take out and to try to take on.
It absolutely will.
And the thing about it is, not only the chemistry, but the leadership on this team is some absolutely phenomenal. And we talked to head coach Sharon Quarles about it last night. The competition within the roster is fueling everybody to play at their best game, and that is the most lethal aspect of it all. Because when you have everybody playing at their A game, this team is going to be hard to stop, and they're going to be a formidable opponent for anybody to try to reckon with and try to stop.
Absolutely, and yeah, if you're a member of the Peach Belt Conference, watch out. You better circle the game on the schedule when you take on the Jaguars. And
and give a lot of credit to the Falcons too. They came out, they capitalized on some of the mistakes that the Jaguars made. Even though it was few and far between, they put up a heck of a fight. And the thing is, you take this, you learn from it, and be able to be a better version of your team. And they are going to be tough as well in their regular season. What a heck of a matchup to end the tournament here.
Absolutely.
in Augusta. You kind of thought it would be a back and forth affair coming into it. It proved to be just that. Two Titans going toe to toe, and it's just been a great weekend for volleyball here in Augusta.
Yeah, it absolutely has been, and this is the end of this tournament, but the Jaguars have more tournaments to come this season before they get ready for conference play. They will be ready to play in the Queens tournament up in Charlotte Friday and Saturday next weekend, and then we'll have the Augusta USC Aiken tournament the following weekend. And before that, though, after the Queens tournament, they host Shorter on September the 4th, a 7 o'clock matchup there. We look forward to bringing all those to you. We will bring you every game of the Augusta USC Aiken tournament, as well as the matchup with Shorter in a week and a half to 2 weeks from now. We'll bring that game, every game there to you on the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. We look forward to that as well, and what a great way to start the season this weekend, and a great tournament, and several more great tournaments to come. We look forward to it all, Blake, and it's been a pleasure this weekend, and we look forward to seeing how much better the Jaguars can continue to get and how much of a force they can be reckoned with in the Peach Belt Conference later on this season.
With everything firing on all cylinders and the chemistry there as well, and like we talked about, the competition within, sky is the limit for this team. It is a great bunch to watch. It is a great bunch to see their game even more refined and develop, and it will get even better as the season wears on. Tremendous props to head coach Sharon Quarles, Khadijah Dickens, the assistant coach, and the leadership on this squad for having this team ready to do battle on all fronts.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Blake. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will wrap things up here on the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back here to Christenberry Fieldhouse. I'm Robert Ambrose. I'm joined with the star of today's game, Mackenzie Beck. Mackenzie, how's it going?
It's good, thank you.
Excellent. So just talk about this whole tournament weekend and obviously the way it went for you guys. 3 games, 3 sweeps. Is this how you imagined the season starting?
Actually, yes, this is how we imagined it, and I'm glad we got to pull through. Our goal this tournament was to come out with our intensity and do not lower our game mentality to the other teams. I think we did a great job at that. There were times where we let go, but then we fought back and did not let them have another chance.
And an example of that is at the end of set 2 today, trailing 24-21, set point, you score 5 in a row. And that really changes the complexion going up 2-0 and then becomes a closeout set 3.
Yes, I have to give shout out to Chloe Allen for killing it in the front row, block after block.
Excellent. And obviously you have with this weekend's tournament and then the Queen's tournament next weekend and the following weekend you host another tournament. Just what do these tournaments mean for gelling and being able to get ready for conference play and playing a whole bunch of games in a short period of time?
It's a lot of, I guess you could say, practice for like the conference games on how to like stay mentally focused, like really get our kinks out now rather than when it affects us in conference to hopefully go to regionals and then nationals.
Excellent. Sounds like good goals. And this offseason, you guys last year didn't have a single senior on your roster, so most everybody back, plus a few new faces. Just what does this weekend tell you about the way some of the new players have been able to fit in?
We are all on the same, like we're all on board together. We all will have the same goals, and it reflects when we play. Last year there was a lot of new people, and there was a new leadership form, and now that we all are under each other's wings and we're all doing it together, it's really effective and it's going to be fun.
Excellent. So before yesterday's first game against Albany State, you had basically 9 months. Think about it, with most everybody coming back and a lot of preparation, and then all of a sudden you have just a few hours to prepare for the next 2 games each. What goes into that when you suddenly have a short amount of time to prepare with these tournaments?
It really is. We are prepared. Like during practice, we're prepared for anything that comes to us. There's little like things that coach tells us for our blocking defense or our plays, but everything we need to know we do in practice, and we just bring it full force during the game.
And it seems like yesterday, set 2 of your last game, it was 25-3, and then you have to set 2 today, you rally from behind. So it seems like you guys are able to do it any way possible.
Yes, we are here to win. We'll do anything it takes.
Excellent. Great to hear stuff like that. Thank you, Mackenzie Beck of the Augusta Jaguars. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and good luck next weekend in Charlotte for the Queen's tournament.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Once again, Mackenzie Beck with the interview, and it's been a special presentation of the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. For Blake Collins, I'm Robert Ambrose. Once again, the Jaguars complete the sweep here today over the Montevallo Falcons and improve to 3-0 this season. And we'll move on to the Queen's tournament next weekend. And the first game of that tournament will be against Anderson on Friday, August 31st. And then they'll return home against Shorter on September 4th for a 7 o'clock matchup on September 4th before the Augusta USC Aiken tournament begins on September 7th. Once again, the Jaguars sweep the Montevallo Falcons here at Christenberry Fieldhouse. For Blake Collins, I'm Robert Ambrose. It's been a special presentation of the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. Good night, everybody.